Well, hello everyone. My name is Lindsay, and I am here today to talk with you about our training, the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan training. This is a training to go over our company's Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. The goal here for this plan is to ensure the safety of all of our employees and team members. So it is very important for us to make sure that everyone is safe at work. I have personally seen cases, for example, where there were gunshots in the background and we made changes in that situation to when we would go to that home or if we would even go to that home. And we moved actually to a telehealth only model for that specific example. And so, those are the kinds of things we want to make sure everybody is safe with. And, our goal here is to ensure everybody knows our workplace violence plan, how to help us to implement it, and how to keep everybody safe. So basically, this is in accordance with the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan ruling. So every covered employer, which includes us, we're a covered employer, we have established, implemented, and maintained an effective workplace violence prevention plan. Our plan includes the names of people responsible, and I'm actually showing that currently. This is within our company handbook, which we make available to all staff. We'll be making sure to send this out regularly in case there are updates and also upon initial training. If you ever need a copy of the handbook, we're happy to send that to you. Just email us at info@acuitybehaviorsolutions.com. That's also where you can basically send all of your requests. So for that, if you want a copy of our workplace violence prevention plan or any other policy that's going to be within our policies and procedures handbook, we sometimes call it our procedures manual, our policies manual. It's basically a document with a lot of our policies or most of our policies. So the people responsible for the implementation of the violence plan, I am personally the leader of this plan. My name is Lindsay Nguyen, and I am the founder and director at the company. Again, we are a mid-sized company, so we love hearing feedback. And if you have any feedback, you can always talk with our office staff and email that in. And if you happen to have any additions you'd like to make or scenarios that you think should be included on this for future updates, please feel free to email those in. So methods to coordinate the implementation of the plan are included here in the plan, which we'll go over. But basically, the goal for us is to go over exactly how the plan works and what to do. We do have procedures here for employers to handle and respond to reports of workplace violence and ensuring no retaliation for reporting. There is absolutely no retaliation at all for reporting workplace violence, whether the violence was from a fellow employee or from a client or from a client's neighbor. No matter what happens, you will not be retaliated against for that. Procedures for the employers to handle and respond to reports of workplace violence. Those are all basically, there's a form that'll go over and it's in our handbook here. We need to also have procedures to ensure compliance from employees, including supervisors, which we do currently have as a part of this training and as a part of having that form available. Procedures for communicating with employees. We obviously have a group chat and we have a couple other methods. We have announcements that go out. So if we have any new issues, we can always send that out. We have emergency response protocols as well. We have training provisions, procedures to identify and evaluate workplace violence hazards, including when the plan is first set up, periodically scheduled reviews of the plan after a violent incident, and whenever a new hazard becomes known. So that would be something that you would bring up, as one of our team members. If something new came up, we would be able to potentially update and edit our plan. Procedures to correct workplace violence hazards. One thing that we do is an evaluation when we have a new client. We do evaluate their home. Once the supervisors go out for the first time, if there are hazards noted, the supervisors are required to report that to the office immediately. And that includes the staff who go out, like a paraprofessional or a behavior interventionist. At any level, if you're identifying a workplace hazard or a safety issue in a home, you can let us know and we will address that with the family. We do want you guys to be safe and to be able to focus on just helping children. because that's what we're here for. We have procedures for post-incident response and investigation. If something does occur, we look into it, we document our response and make sure that we edit our plan so that we are basically helping people the best that we can on our employee side and on our client side. And we have procedures that allow for plan review annually and when there's a deficiency observed or after any incident. And then we have other procedures necessary for employee health and safety, which are in our other policies of the handbook. The plan is in effect at all times in all work areas, and it is specific to the hazards and corrective measures for each work area. So we'll go over that in a little bit when we go through the actual plan. The written plan may be incorporated as a standalone section as a part of our written injury and illness prevention program. We do have a violent incident log requirement, which we don't have any currently, but we need to have a log of all incidents of workplace violence, even if the incident didn't result in injury. The log includes information on each incident with statements, witness statements, investigation findings, including the date, time, location, violence, workplace violence type, and we'll go through the types a little later. Description of the incident, classification of who committed it, circumstances where the incident occurred, specific incident characteristics like physical attacks, weapon involvement, etc. What the consequences of the incident were, including if law enforcement was involved, steps taken to protect employees from further threat or hazards, and who completed the log. Employers in this reporting, because it is public to the company, to everybody in the company, we would extract personal identifying information to ensure anonymity of the person it happened to. So training, so our training does include easy to understand materials. That's what we're going through right now. And then basically we are currently going to cover just familiarizing you guys with the plan, how to obtain a copy, which we already talked about, how to participate in the development. That would be just emailing in if you have additional hazards that you've noted, definitions and requirements, how to report workplace violence without fear of retaliation, which we talked about already, understanding of job-specific violence hazards. That's pretty much what this whole training will be about after we get into the plan itself, where we have individualized it for our company. And then opportunities for interactive discussions as well. So when a new or previously identified workplace violence hazard is discovered or changes are made, we would then create an additional training that focuses on that new hazard to ensure everybody's on board. So our responsibilities in all of this are keeping the plan in writing, accessible to employees, and also to any government agency that requested it. Records of the workplace violence hazard identification, evaluation, and correction should be created and maintained, which we have done. Training records, which is this, will be created and maintained. Incident logs are maintained for a minimum of 5 years. Records of the incident investigations are also maintained. And then if there were any questions from any of you, you could always email that into info@acuitybehaviorsolutions.com. So we'll go through our plan, and then after we go through our plan, your job will be to ensure that you let us know that you have taken this by either for the end of this, we'll either give you a quiz at the end, or if this is one of your newer requirements and you are not going through a module, we may have a different way of verifying that you have taken this course. Okay, so we've already kind of gone over the purpose, the definition. Workplace violence includes but is not limited to acts or threats of physical violence, intimidation, harassment, bullying, or any other behavior that creates a hostile work environment. This policy covers violence from external sources like clients, customers, third parties, as well as violence amongst and between employees. Responsibility, so we should demonstrate a commitment to a violence-free workplace, provide resources, and investigate any incidents promptly. For employees, this is your responsibility to familiarize yourself with the policy, report any incidents. We require immediate reporting and or as soon as possible, because sometimes if you're in the middle of the incident, You cannot report until a little bit later. Cooperation with investigations and following procedures. So we have a group of prevention measures. So we conduct regular training, we educate employees, we have control measures to limit unauthorized entry, especially with, the client homes. We don't really control their home and how that works, but we definitely can ask families in the home to limit people to the home. For example, I have personally been on a case where a lot of people were coming into the home, and I actually felt unsafe with the people who were coming in, friends of the parents, and we spoke with the family on that case and said, it'd be great and better for the child if we could focus on just us being here, and that did make a difference in the safety and of all the staff at that time. So install and maintain systems such as surveillance cameras. We don't have those in client homes as we aren't allowed to. Some families do have them, but we do have those at the clinic. And then an emergency communication plan. So for us, our emergency communication plan is definitely for you as the employee to notify us via email, or if it's an emergency, to call 714-696-2862, our company phone. And then if it's a true emergency that has to be handled by law enforcement, definitely call 911 immediately. And reporting, we encourage people to report. We do have an anonymous feedback link that is sent out on every email the office sends. And so that's another way to report anything anonymously that you would like to get to us in an anonymous way. So procedures for responding to immediate threats. So any immediate threats we will immediately handle. If law enforcement is there, then they would handle it and we would follow up from there. For clients who are threatening or families who are engaging in threats, we would take it on a case-by-case basis on how we would handle that. I have personally had several knives held up to me during sessions. It isn't very common. I think for most of our clients, violence is not actually something that a vast majority of our kiddos are having. But it is something more common at maybe other agencies where the children that they're working with are, sometimes more severe. So we are definitely going to sometimes have some things where you may feel unsafe, but for the most part, what happens is our company will identify either a family that's not treating us in a respectful and safe manner, and we will have to end services with them, or as a company policy, or if we have a client that is engaging in extremely unsafe behavior, we'll evaluate if we can continue that case as well. For anybody who's on a case where there are significant safety concerns, we want to hear about that immediately. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can ask to be placed on a different case due to feeling unsafe with that client. So there are no disciplinary actions for engaging in the reporting, but violating policies, of course, always comes with disciplinary actions as outlined in other areas of the handbook. So confidentiality, everything is handled confidentially. We would only give the minimum amount of information. And then, of course, we have regular reviews to ensure the policy is effective. I do have a policy here, or sort of a letter from the director, but basically it's kind of what I've already gone over with you. And then we have some statutes here. These explain what specific laws prohibit specific things. So Penal Code Section 171B prohibits any person from bringing or possessing within any state or local public building firearms or other weapons. So we don't really work in public buildings, and so that wouldn't really apply to us. Penal Code Section 71 prohibits any person from threatening or inflicting unlawful injury upon any public officer or employee, which would cause the public officer or employee to refrain from doing any act in the performance of his duties. So these are definitely statutes with regard to the law that have to be followed, not necessarily applying directly to all of you. So definitions: an act of violence is an attempt coupled with ability or actual use of force of violence with the intent to threaten, harass, intimidate, commit a violent injury, or damage or destroy property. A threat is a statement which is intended to intimidate by expressing the intent to either harass, hurt, take the life of another person, etc. This includes threats made in jest, like joking, but which could be perceived as serious. Harassment is the creation of a hostile work environment through unwelcome words, actions, or physical contact, not resulting in physical harm. Verbal harassment may include disparaging or derogatory comments or slurs, unreasonable or excessive criticism, or name calling. Intimidate, to make afraid, to frighten, alarm, annoy, or scare, to force a person into, deter them from some action by inducing fear or by threats. Stalking occurs when any person willfully, maliciously, and repeatedly follows or harasses another and makes a credible threat with the intent to place that person in reasonable fear for his or her safety. In workplace violence, there are actually 3 major types. These are important to remember. This is a major part of categorizing them. So we have type 1, the aggressor has no legitimate business relationship to the workplace. Think of a random person like a robbery. Type 2, the aggressor is either the recipient or the object of a service provided. So think of like a client. Type 2, the aggressor has some employment related involvement, like an employee or supervisor. So basically, responsibility, we've already kind of gone over that. Compliance, we've gone over that with our prior statements. Communication, we basically have new hire training for this and then ongoing. And incident reporting, so first call 911 immediately and ask for help immediately if you are in danger or if any sort of immediate help is needed, especially if you're in the home of a child and you're the only employee there. Report all threats or acts of violence via email. That's to info@acuitybehaviorsolutions.com. If not possible, talk to whoever you can at the company and make sure that they report it on your behalf. For example, if you call your supervisor, they would need to and be required to send that report to the office. And there is an incident report form. So that's really important. So hazard assessment, this is probably the key to prevention. We do have a checklist that we give families as a part of our intake packet where we require very specific things of their home. Some of that includes having a, soap and a working restroom and that kind of thing. But any kind of hazards that you see, they are more on the rare side now, and we do tend to talk with families and end services if they are engaging in unsafe behavior, because we do not want to put our employees at risk. But if you do see them, please tell your supervisor and write to the office as soon as possible. So all of this is kind of information about that. So type 1 workplace hazards, these are sort of things you can do to assess for hazards. So looking at the interior and exterior of the homes that we're going to or our clinic, posting of signs, procedures for reporting any kind of suspicious people. Basically, our procedure is to email the office, limiting the amount of cash on hand. We actually don't keep cash at the office at all, and we have a sign out front that says we do not keep cash to keep the office safe. We don't have any kind of armor car pickup because we don't really do any cash business. And then as a staff, I would say that you also might want to not bring a purse into a client home because as you're on your way to and from your car, there is that potential. It's very rare. We've actually never, and yet in the company's history, had anybody be, in any situation where that was a problem. But we do, for multiple reasons, want staff to try to leave purses not in the client homes. If you do leave a purse in the car, the recommendation is always to make sure it is hidden so that it doesn't look like somebody would want to break your window to get it. So put a jacket over it or hide it under the seat. That also is one way to prevent violence as well. Inspections for type 2 workplace security hazards include, we can kind of skip some of these, but adequacy of workplace security systems, door locks, frequency and severity of hostile situations can lead to violent acts by supervisors, employees' skill in handling, effectiveness of systems and procedures, buddy systems if needed, and escape route. So for the most part, we aren't going to have a posted escape route, but you should, in any situation with a family, it is best to ask them, where are the exits, and kind of know two ways to get out of any home. So if I'm in a client's home, I can ask them, okay, where is the first place I could leave? Okay, where's the second place I could leave if needed? And if there are two doors to exit, that's a good way to have it. All right, so type 3 workplace security hazards. We've already kind of talked about some of this, but knowledge of the warning signs of potential workplace violence, access to freedom of movement within the workplace by non-employees, basically kind of knowledge of prior incidents for supervisors is really important. So incident investigations, we would basically go through an entire incident review process, and corrective action is always needed. If we have any form of incident, we're going to take corrective action, usually immediately. As soon as any kind of incident is reported, our company is immediately handling that to make sure the safety of our staff is #1 priority. And that also includes safety of our clients, but this, we really want to make sure that our staff are safe as well. So the end goal with, all of that review and going through investigation is to come up with a plan so that our staff remain safe at all times. So that includes a hazard correction, where we are basically ensuring that we correct any and all hazards that are controllable. And then definitely, we can control who can walk in and out, that kind of thing. There's lots of different ways we can do that. So it's going to depend on the actual incident itself. Okay. So you can read through this. This is corrective measures for security hazards that you can kind of look through as examples. And then training and instruction, we're actually going through that currently. And let's see, yeah, and we already went through all of this. And then I'll kind of skip all the way down here. This is our appendix. You can review that on your own as well. And once we get down to the actual form, this is the form that you would fill out. So this is our workplace violence prevention plan reporting form. This would be filled out by email. You could take this, copy it, paste it into the email, and we would answer it from there. At some point, we may be able to make this into a jot form, and that would make it a little easier for everybody. So that is a current future plan for us. So that is most of what we are going to go over today. Again, if you have any questions, there are more sections about preventing domestic violence in the workplace. One of the things we do to prevent any form of harm coming to our staff is if somebody calls asking about where you are, we will not answer them. In case you're being stalked as an employee, in case somebody is trying to get a hold of you and you don't want them to, we don't release any information without a written signature from the employee. So if someone calls and says, "Hi, I am so-and-so's aunt," our team member, we will not be giving your information out until we have a signature from you or an email that we know is your email address confirming that that is fine. So workplace safety overall, we are definitely, our end goal is definitely to make sure that we create the safest workplace environment for you as we can. We know that what you do is amazing, and you're helping children, and so we want to help you as best as we can in every way, and one of those ways is making sure that you stay safe. So if you have any questions at all, if you have any suggestions, any new hazards that come up, if you feel unsafe in any way, please feel free to reach out to our office. You will never get in trouble for or have any retaliation for reporting workplace safety issues or anything related to workplace violence. So please feel free to email us about this or any other policy questions. That concludes our training for today, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye.